Caregivers, have you ever felt like nothing is going right? Well, cheer up and welcome to Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver radio program, where you'll learn how to avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout and how to survive the grieving process. Join Dave and his guests now as they share practice tips and tools that you can start using immediately to help get you through this day. Now, here's your caregiver host, Dave Nassani.
From Los Angeles, a great big welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I am Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver, coming to you live globally on the 14 network platforms that we're currently on, including iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Vimeo, Stitcher Radio, Blog Talk Radio. I'm not going to mention anymore because it's just, you'd be bored. So, of course, our membership site, caregiverscaregiver.com, it's on as well. And we were voted number 2 Caregiver Podcast of 2017, where all our recorded pod and video casts are saved for your later on-demand listening pleasure. Now, if you ever have trouble finding us, just remember my name's Dave, and I'm a caregiver, so you just have to Google Caregiver Dave, and I'll be there, just like Michael Jackson. I'll be there. All right, enough of that. Our goal here is to do our very best to help you avoid that dreaded thing called caregiver burnout. And we have an exciting show planned for you today. My very special guest, all the way from Washington, D.C., the White House. Yes, it's true. Antoine Chevalier. He is an amazing guy. Now, I'm Dave Nassani, the Caregiver's Caregiver, and this show is for caregivers of every single kind because we know that 30% of you die before your loved ones do, and 60% get sicker needing a caregiver of their own. If that wasn't bad enough, roughly half of you in a study have confessed to actually feeling down, depressed, and hopeless in just the last 2 weeks. The same symptoms that others who have taken their lives have felt. So this is an important show that we do here. So let's get started. But first, I want to thank my last week's guest, who was actually Adrian and I. And we did a great job. We have a great show. It was on the grief process. And just a reminder, you can listen to that interview and all our interviews right here on our website, caregiverdave.com. That's caregiverdave.com. And now, welcome to my guest, Antoine Chevalier. Why were you put on this earth, Antoine? That's a question I like to ask all my guests. Yeah, what is your purpose here?
Thank you. Yeah, so you can already tell from my accent. I have an accent. I'm from Deep South Alabama. And
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Yeah. So I was born and raised in France. So you're gonna think, what does a Frenchman do right now in the U.S.? Well, you know, especially the way. Well, the wonderful thing is I don't drink alcohol. I don't eat meat. I don't eat bread. I don't eat croissant. I don't smoke cigarettes, and I don't believe in extramarital affairs. So they actually kicked me out of France.
Are you sure you're from France?
That's right. You just, what's going on with you? You're not French enough, so they just kicked me out of France. So I had a very interesting, I would say, path in this lifetime. I was born and raised in the middle of France, and my upbringing was very, very dark. My parents were undertakers, and I grew up in a funeral home. So I was surrounded by dead bodies, and after school, God. And so it was caregivers for the dead, I would say. And then after school, I was not allowed to play with my friends. I had to help my dad, clean up the dead bodies and prepare the coffin because it was a family business. So. And at the age of 13, I remember he woke me up at 3 a.m. and we had to drive in the middle of nowhere and to take care of someone who committed suicide. And he was hanging himself, so the dead body was hanged he cut the cord and he was holding on to the torso and climbing on the chair. And he instructed me to hold on to the legs so the body doesn't drop and so he doesn't want to clean up the blood, etc. So you can imagine the scene at age 13. And so I became very motivated, I would say, to get out of this family situation, which was highly dysfunctional. And I saw education as my ticket. So I became very focused on grades, and I ended up with a PhD from Sorbonne University in Paris. And I wanted to get out of France, so I had an international development, sustainable development PhD, and I did it in South Africa and Zimbabwe, to be precise. There I learned a lot. And in order to survive all of that darkness, I was very heavy into meditation. And meditation really taught me a great deal. I became a monk in Thailand and Chiang Mai for like 5 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
And the monks were just, they just loved me. It was amazing, an amazing experience. And I learned a lot on meditation and how to set boundaries.
Yeah, for caregivers.
Which is one of the big topic for caregivers, exactly. Yeah. And which little did I know at the time, I didn't know what I was getting into, so I didn't know how precious that teaching would be in the future. And then turned out to be almost like a lifesaver, because I ended up in different kind of situations and relationships and things like this and so on. So that teaching, that meditation to establish your boundaries was very helpful for me to practice on a daily basis, you know. And I met someone there in Zimbabwe, an American person, and then we decided to have our own business. And later on, I followed her and ended up in Washington, D.C. I started my career there as an entrepreneur for alternative medicine. And then they wanted someone to volunteer to the health fair at the White House Athletic Center. So I raised my hand. They picked me. That was before 9/11, you know. It was in the beginning of 2000, no, the end of 2000, I believe. And things were different, you know, before 9/11. There was a different world. And they were like, that's weird, this French guy with PhD from Sorbonne, and you are doing what, you know, like Reiki.
That's like the Harvard of U.S.
Yeah, it's the Harvard of the U.S., basically. So you're doing what? Reiki and massage, that's weird. So, well, because of a level of education, I was able to talk to them, and they were like, well, you understand what we do. This is great. You're very good at what you do. We have a lot of stress. Don't you want to come back and help us decrease the stress and take care of us? Right. Wow. And I was like, I would be honored. I mean, it's an honor because I care so much about the U.S. I'm a U.S. citizen. I believe in the U.S. so much.
Wow.
It was such an honor to have a little contribution, you know, and help a beautiful public servant who are doing an amazing job. Really, I love them. They are amazing people. And and every morning is such a motivation, because it's really not about the money, because they pay me. It's not taxpayer money, so it's not your taxpayer money. Okay, just
I wasn't worried.
They pay me directly, and they're very happy because then I decrease the stress, so they make better decisions and they're more productive. And it's. I started in 2000, and then I went into functional medicine, integrative medicine, and I took a lot of different classes. And then, long story short, I ended up learning about medical electrical acupuncture, you know, which is technically called MPS, microcurrent point stimulation. So it's beyond electrical acupuncture, because we actually use
cutting edge.
Right, it's cutting edge. It's from Canada. It's really a good modality. So quickly I picked up on this, and I started realizing it's a perfect bridge between East and West, and it's applying electrical current on acupuncture points, trigger points, motor points, tender points. You actually re-regulate the autonomic nervous system, and you get rid of stress. And whatever work I do after that, they keep it. It's the only modality that shows pain relief going down 48 hours after the session, because usually you get a drop and then the pain comes back gradually. But it's the only modality you get a drop after the session and it keeps going down, because it's so smart. You re-regulate the autonomic nervous system, and that's the big thing for caregivers.
Yeah.
You need to understand that you have a central nervous system, you have a peripheral nervous system, and you have an autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system operates below your level of consciousness, meaning, in other words, you don't think heart pump, right?
Right.
You don't think lungs breathe, right?
Right.
This is being done for you without your awareness, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And that is called the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system has two branches, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is when you are under stress, fight or flight.
Yeah.
And the parasympathetic is the equal opposite, allows you to heal, rest, digest, and sleep.
I see.
So bottom line is, because I teach this modality, so, you know, it's just wonderful.
It's all on the subconscious level.
Right, exactly.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. And it's like I did my second PhD on this, and I'm doing a third PhD. So that one just blew. Oh, I'm so passionate about this because it's like helping people. I just love it. Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
could
and
see.
I'm the lead author on that paper that got published in the peer-reviewed scientific journal, a Journal of Medical Acupuncture. That paper got endorsed by the NIH, the National Institutes for Health.
Wow.
And basically, the bottom line: this woman had a car accident, and she had a traumatic brain injury, concussion. She ended up with intention tremors, meaning she wants to grab something, she shakes,
Like
right?
Parkinson's.
Uncontrollably. Voilà. Yeah. In one session, we scanned her brain before, treated her in one session, scanned the brain after, and it shows 93% brain tissue improvement,
Really?
and it's permanent.
Permanent?
So now it's huge. It's a huge discovery. So I'm doing this research where I need 30 now because 30 is statistically significant for scientific purposes, for scientific publication. I'm looking for volunteers, usually athletes, football players, concussion, right?
No shortage of them.
There's no shortage. That's right. It's
Hey, maybe O.J. Simpson.
Oh, yeah, that one you was going to need something else too, which I can help because I actually got published on criminal behaviors
There you go.
and gang members and serial killers. So that would be
Wow.
interesting.
I've got a grandson who is in jail because, he
Oh,
was.
absolutely. It's mental health, because I went through chronic pain, stress, get rid of stress, right? Meditation, but also medical electrical acupuncture, MPS to get rid of stress. Then I realized it's in the brain, it's in the mind. And then what are the best modalities? Well, I went to Australia and I learned from the Aborigines, the Gangkari, the Papuni, which is a traditional healing modality from the Aborigines, which is 60,000 year culture.
Wow.
As we say, if you throw something against the wall and it stick on the wall for like 60,000 years, are we going to pay attention? I think so. Because the other thing is, these people have been living in harmony with nature for 60,000 years without destroying nature in one of the most hostile environments. So they have a lot of wisdom. So I did research on this, and basically I published 3 papers on this. And one paper was military veterans who got diagnosed with PTSD, depression, and suicide. And in one session, scan his brain before, one session, scan his brain after. I mean, he used to be playing video games in his bedroom all day, no jobs, no girlfriends, would not take a shower, would not shave. In one session, that was September last year, now he has 2 jobs, he's going to school, again, he has a girlfriend, he shaves, and he takes showers.
Wow.
So that's very good, yeah.
I can think of some people who need this, like even in my own family. Thinking of someone who plays video games all the time, rebellious, moody, phobias, anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
So I know this other guy. He's got his son. He's a teenager. He gets anxiety attacks, and it changed his life. They met a doctor, Dr. Amen, and with 40 sessions, they said that he's a new guy. He's studying better. He's getting good grades.
Right.
No more anxiety attacks. And I guess he wrote this book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, or something like that. But 40 sessions.
Not at all, because in my case, one session is enough. They don't come back.
Really?
So I don't need 40 sessions. That's number one. Number two is I work on the.
Are you sure you don't know this guy? He sounds like he does what you do, with the brain. Dr. Amen.
Dr. Amen. Yeah,
Yes.
Amen Clinic. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
he
yeah.
got clinics all over the place. Franchise.
I love him. I love him. He's
good.
great.
Now, do you have a clinic too?
Well, we want to work together because I need his clinic to do the research.
Yeah, you two need to get together.
Because right now I'm working on.
Yeah, I'll try to hook you up because my friend knows him.
Yeah, that would be great because right now I'm lining up 30 homeless military veterans. Okay. Yeah. And I treat them for free. In exchange, I want their medical records so I can prove scientifically that I actually changed their lives, which I've done many times before. This time I want to do it. I want to do the publication. I need 30 homeless military veterans who are suicidal, okay? And this is serious. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for people who are in pain and suffering that I know I can fix, okay? I need, in exchange, their permission to do a quick medical assessment before the session, do the session, a medical assessment after the session, and monitor them for the next 3 months. And I want a full participation in the documentary. There are 2 numbers, Dave. 2 numbers. Every day, 20 military veterans commit suicide.
Oh my gosh, really?
And the second number is 75% of the homeless population in Los Angeles are veterans.
Oh, no. Yeah.
This has to stop.
Absolutely.
Enough. I get the people.
You know, I can't believe we don't take care of our vets.
Yeah.
We have freedom because of them, and we just throw them away. That is not right.
Yeah, I'm doing my 3rd PhD on this one, and it's going to be the PhD for integrative mental health, and that's going to be the 3rd PhD.
That's about time. Yeah.
I will line up these beautiful people, and you see that you see them in the car. They
so
can't
sad.
shave. They don't take showers. They sleep with their dog in the car, okay? They don't have the mental strength to drive to the VA and get their benefits.
So
they stay
sad.
in the car because they are PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, mental health, depressed, and suicidal ideation. That's the case. So you see them after the session, they start shaving, they start taking a shower progressively.
Really?
Then they start driving to the VA. That's the big breakthrough. Because all of a sudden you see them going to the VA and ask for their benefit. So now they get money. Then they see them going to the bank. And then you see them after that eating properly and apply for a job. There's a lot of jobs now. You know, they apply for a job.
Yeah.
And then they become productive members of society.
Wonderful.
That's what I want to do. That's my top priority.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is I already did 1 case study that got published. I've done this more than once, of course, but I want 30 of them now. And I want the publication on 30 because 30 is statistically significant.
Yeah.
And I want a documentary on that so people know there is a solution out there. The guy I published the case study, for example, this guy was a military veteran, right? And he was playing video games in his bedroom for years. We're not talking months, we're talking years. He did cognitive therapy, EMDR, EFT, psychology, psychiatry, Reiki, somato-emotional release. I mean, medications, drugs, everything under the sun. Nothing has worked. And he was suicidal and depressed. And in 1 session, it's all gone now. He has 2 jobs and he's going back to school. That's what you want to see because enough.
You know, I have a young teenager in my family, and he has some behavioral problems. You know, he was divorced and bouncing from mom's house to dad's house to grandpa's house to the other grandpa's house, and you know, he was smoking dope and he was doing all sorts of stuff. Won't go to counseling. Then he changes his mind, says he will go, and he's like Adrian Monk. You know, he's got so many phobias. Is there hope for someone like this, a teenager?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I just came back from Florida when I was treating my very good friend, who now is my adoptive father, is Ron Klein. If you know Ron Klein.
I don't think
Ron
so.
Klein is the person who invented the credit card swipe.
Oh.
Every time you swipe,
Billionaire.
Yeah, he's a billionaire, and he also created the MLS listing for real estate.
Really?
He also created something else for Wall Street, which makes Wall Street. I mean, this man, outside of the fact that he's an amazing father, grandfather, and he's basically a very dear friend of mine. I mean, it's absolutely a gem, an amazing spirit, amazing person. And so he basically now I'm the adopted son, so I'm part of the family.
Good
It's
for
just
you.
beautiful, beautiful. And this beautiful man, Ron Klein, is a military veteran from Korea War. He's 82 years old.
82.
He was in chronic pain for 62 years. Okay? And I saw him 4 months ago. I did one session on his lower back. Since then, he's not in pain in his lower back. One session.
So this is like acupuncture for the brain.
It's more complicated than this. I mean, I wish it could be that simple, okay? Yeah. It's more complicated, but
Because I have a partner who's an acupuncturist, and he's always sticking needles in me, when I complain about something. One time I had diarrhea. He grabbed my wrist and it's, ow! But it stopped. I mean, this is amazing stuff, and he helps so many people here. So I'm trying to find an analogy. I mean, it's like acupuncture for the brain. I mean, I kind of get that. When I have another friend who was in an automobile accident and his whole face got smashed in, and he was put together, like a jigsaw puzzle, and he goes through so much pain, chronic pain for like 30 years. He's suicidal, the marriage broke up. But we'll talk about that when we get back. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Sounds great.
Dave Nassani, the Caregiver's Caregiver, has just released his 6th book entitled It's My Life Too. Reclaim your caregiver sanity by learning when to say yes and when to say no. It was specifically written for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but just don't know how. Dave is the sole caregiver to his wife, Charlene, since 1996. He knows firsthand what caregivers are going through, because he is one. And he now speaks all across the country, offering caregivers his incredible caregiver support package. Even the airlines tell us that in the event of an emergency, to put your oxygen mask on first before you help your child with their mask. They know that those who don't heed their advice often black out, thus becoming unable to help either themselves or their child. And caregivers are exactly the same way. It's My Life Too. Reclaim your caregiver sanity by learning when to say yes and when to say no. Will help caregivers who are neglecting their sleep, diet, and social life, and learn to put their needs first. Pick up your copy today, or buy one for your special caregiver. On sale everywhere, and at caregiverscaregiver.com. And we're back with Dr. Antoine Chevalier. Yeah, I don't think he's related to Maurice.
No, same last name, but, No.
So I want to talk about another 19-year-old I know who got in trouble. He's autistic, Asperger's syndrome, very high functioning. And he was driving drunk, hanging around with the wrong people, booze, etc. And he killed somebody. Now he's in prison.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, to talk about an extreme case, which if I can do an extreme case, I can do ADD, ADHD, or any behavioral problem. Mm-hmm. But one of the extreme case I've done, and I got published on this in a peer-reviewed scientific journal, is a autistic child. Mm-hmm. He was 7 years old. And it was extreme violent behavior. He would beat up his mom, and he would bite his mom, and we took a shovel, and he was making his mom bleed, and it was extreme. He actually chased his father, his mother with scissors. He wanted to kill them. Oh. And it took me 3 sessions, and they were talking about sending the kid to a special institution because they could not handle him at school. He would beat up the kids and the teachers and all of that. In 3 sessions, the teacher said, he's changed. He doesn't need to go to a special institution. He socialized with the other kids. No more aggression, no more violent behavior, no more autistic behavior.
Wow, that is unbelievable. So now you're saying there's hope for autism?
And
we're back with Antoine. I'm sorry. So this really sounds like cutting edge stuff, and you need these studies to prove it, so that the government can then start using this procedure on anybody who needs it. I mean, you're revolutionizing medicine. Yeah. But I'm assuming psychology and psychiatry won't go away. There's still counseling and things that need to be done, right? Is
Uh,
that is that uh,
yeah,
is that right? There's other
right.
dynamics going
Well,
on.
that can be dealt with as a caregiver when you deal with these situations, actually, because usually when I deal with this kind of situation, it's a family issue. You know, it's not only the kid because it's affecting the child,
Yeah.
but the mother is affected, the father is affected, the siblings are affected. And so I have a whole lecture on caregivers who are basically caring about this autistic child or drug addict child or whatever teenage, behavioral problems they have. And the very important point is to be able to meditate and remember that this is their reality, this is their creation. You are not responsible for their creation, so you have to
Yeah.
detach yourself emotionally because as a caregiver, you don't want to see your loved ones suffering, so you have a tendency to take that pain
Yeah.
from
Like
them into yourself because it's more painful to watch the one you love suffering than having that pain upon yourself.
yeah.
And that is a lose-lose situation because you end up with the pain that does not belong to you,
Yep. Been there.
and the person who
I
is
know the family that
that's
is
right,
going
and
right
and the
through that
person who is supposed to learn from that pain all of a sudden doesn't have the pain
yeah.
and they don't learn. The
Because
win-win situation is you need to be able to point zero observe, and what I mean by point zero is the meditation from the Taoist in Thailand. Also, the Aborigines, they're very good at this. Is you stay inside of you, and there's no emotional reaction, so you don't interact emotionally. You just observe, like a scientist, and you
wow.
stay as neutral as possible. And you just there to assist them going through their path. You be there for them when it's necessary, and it's a delicate dance. It's a balance where you need to know when to step in because you realize that without you, they're probably going to die or something really bad's going to happen.
Right.
But you need to know when to step back and let them experience their own mistakes so they learn from it. Because if you take that away from them, they will never learn. And
Yeah.
if they don't learn, it's going to come back to them until they really learn because this is being manifested in their lives. There is a reason why they're experiencing that pain. And pain and suffering is a teacher.
Yeah. There's so many enablers out there.
That's right.
They protect them from their own consequences, and therefore they never learn. And that's just so bad.
Yeah. That's a classic case. I have a very good friend, and I was in her life when a week before her dad passed away. She was a heroin addict, a cocaine addict, marijuana addict, whatever chemicals. She would actually buy chemicals and then sniff it. I mean, it was really bad. And the father was a multimillionaire, and it was a soft spot for his daughter. He didn't want to see his
Sure.
daughter in pain like this, and he would
Spoiler.
give her money anytime. All she had to
Yep.
do is cry and
Yep.
daddy, 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 daddy. And then she would use the money to use drugs. And when
Yep.
the father died, she went through a withdrawal period
It's a common
and
story.
she was forced to change and she was
Yeah.
forced to take responsibility. She realized the stream of money is gone. She has to change. Now, 3 years after, she's completely sober. She lost custody over her two kids because she was that bad as a mother. Now she regained the custody. She's in the life of her two kids, and everything is fine. The enabling aspect of the caregiver is very important, and it's a very tough situation. It's not easy. I went through this through a previous relationship. It was very hard.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm tempted to just be
Yeah.
skeptical. You know, how do you
Yeah.
how do you handle the skeptics? Because I was always told if it's too good to be true,
Yeah.
what it probably is. So I know
Yeah.
you've spoken a lot of places.
Yeah.
How do you handle the people who are skeptical
Right.
of your results and stuff like that? So I assume you deal with those, right?
Yeah. Well, what I said to the skeptics out there, I say I've been working for 17 years at the White House at the Executive Office of the President. I have 2 PhDs. I'm working on the 3rd PhD. I got published in peer-reviewed scientific journal, and the grandson of Gandhi gave me the Global Change Maker of the Year 2017.
Gandhi?
Yeah, and I do.
Oh, yes, I was reading about that. You had a press release.
That's right. Last year in 2017, right? And because I was doing already public speaking, and they looked at me and they was like, "This is too good to be true. We're gonna invite him and see if he's for real or not." So they invited me in Peru, in Machu Picchu.
Beautiful
And
place.
so I did the public speaking there. They lined up people to treat, and I started treating people, and I got all success. I mean, it was all positive, and they were like, they started to believe that this is real. And at the last day, they gave me the award. The grandson of Gandhi gave me the award for Global Change Maker.
Wow.
So
good for
be
you.
the change you want to see in the world, right? Which is what we all thrive to become, to achieve, because quite frankly, it's really for the next generation. I mean, you want to give a better world to our kids. I have almost a 3-year-old kid. When I look at him in the eyes every night, and you want to make sure I do the best I can to make sure this is the epidemic for opioid addiction in this country is a real disaster.
It's a mess.
I just read an article in West Virginia. The undertakers can't keep up with the number of young people in their 20s who actually die of overdose.
Oh, boy.
And this has to be... The suicidal rate is...
Yeah, I heard teen suicides outnumber murders now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much going on. The suicidal rate is up to the roof. We've never seen something like this ever. I had a psychiatrist who came to me for treatment, which by itself is interesting, right? So the psychiatrist came for a session, and she told me she specialized for young teenagers, and she told me that in her practice, 70% of young girls are suicidal because mommy or daddy took away the phone.
I actually know somebody whose phone was taken away and they had a temper tantrum, beating their head against the floor. 16-year-old. Amazing. You know, our kids are just so spoiled. And, you know, what is life without Twitter? What is life without a video game, you know? I just...
It's an addiction. It's an addiction.
It is
And this is going to be the new research. This is going to be the new research. When I'm done with the military veterans, suicidal, homeless, which I will do that research. I have another research to do on the concussion tremors with athletes, NFL players, hockey players, and all of that. I have another research I want to do on autism. Okay, the next one, it's going to be video game, Facebook, Instagram addiction.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, we are the generation, we have to fix it, because you and I were born without Facebook. So you and I actually have a baseline. We know what life is without Instagram.
Yes, we do.
The millennials are born with it.
They don't know what it's like without
They
it.
don't know. They don't know what life is without Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
All they know it's hell. Hell on earth. Yeah. They don't know what hell is. And you know, I also heard a report about selfies. People are addicted to taking pictures of themselves. You know, no other society did this. This is like a narcissistic thing. It's
almost impossible, because the Facebook, Instagram selfies is so powerful. It's such a powerful addiction.
What happens to
what
the
it
brain?
does to the brain? It's almost like exploiting psychological weakness of humans, which is especially young teenagers, is self-gratification. So they want instant gratification in seconds. You can post something on Facebook, and you're going to have 54 friends who are going to like what you posted.
Yeah.
And that gives you a rush it goes a rush into the brain.
Instant high.
And you have a cascade of chemical reactions into the brain.
Yeah.
And that becomes a psychological high.
Yeah.
And people get addicted to it.
Yeah.
And they have no more almost relationship with humans because they don't realize they're actually interacting with a machine. So it's an illusion. It's not real.
It's only going to get worse too as robots are coming online, you know.
Yeah.
And video games. I mean, you can't find a kid who's not playing video games.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it. And the screens are huge and they're playing with 20 and 30 people.
A very good example was Pokemon. When we had actually released the Pokemon game, you saw these people. That was the only time where they went into national parks or whatever, but they were on their phone looking for the Pokemon. I mean, if you think about it, you have to stop and think what it is. They're looking for an illusionary digital binary object that is a perception in their mind that is being created through the phone, which is a machine. And you see them literally almost like zombies in parks looking for something that does not exist, that just exists in their mind, in their perception of reality through the phone. And they don't even interact with the trees or nature. They don't look at nature. They don't interact with humans. They're interacting mentally with this creature, this Pokemon that they are looking everywhere. And you just have to stop and think how far this is going. And so their sense of identity, their whole world is created through this digital illusionary reality. And when you take that away from them, it's like taking their sense of self from them. It's like almost destroying them, and they become suicidal.
No wonder why the suicide rate's so high.
That's right.
You're removing their basis of how they look at themselves.
Yeah.
God help us. And I don't think we know how to fix it, except what you're talking about now gives us more hope than I've heard of, because traditional medicine, traditional doctors, they know what to do.
Yeah, that's why I go back to the traditional wisdom of the Aborigines and the people in Africa where I did the first PhD in Africa, the people who are related to nature. You just have to stop and think. I mean, these Aborigines people in Australia, they are very wise, very smart. They live in a very simple life, and they are mentally sane. They are not suicidal at all. And the way they heal themselves is really remarkable.
Yeah.
And when you see in our society, we're going on the opposite. We're going away from nature. We're going away from things that basically the universe. We're getting away. Exactly, we're getting away from our real self, which is inside of us, into the outer self, into something outside of you, which is technology, virtual reality, Pokemons, textbook, text message, tweeters, all of that stuff is outside of yourself. So you are, if you want, in this matrix of illusionary reality, and you don't know what's controlling this.
Yeah, well,
and
I
whatever is controlling that technology is controlling you.
Yeah.
And you give your power away to that technology.
Give your free will
and one
away.
day, you can't even conceive how you can survive or live. You don't even know who you are without that technology. And this is how pernicious it is, and this is how dangerous it is. So that's why I think it's very wise to go back to traditional culture, who didn't fall
back to
into
the
that
basics.
trap.
Yep. So I'm depressed. But I'm so excited about what you're doing. And this is cutting edge stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many are doing it, but
I agree.
Thank God you're doing it.
Yeah, the Battlefield and Call of Duty and all of these video games, they say it's on the age is 18, but I mean, every kids, they
Sure,
always
everybody
cheat. I mean,
cheats.
how kids are. You have 12-year-old kid playing that game and nobody's supervising because everybody's so busy. You have 2 or 3 jobs. I mean, you can't supervise your own kid.
They're
So you
all
see these 12.
and society is
Yeah,
unleashing
well,
marijuana now.
right. That's a real issue because actually I do work with cannabinoid nano water, and I imprint the water with digital homeopathic frequencies
Wow.
from a quantum German machine. So that's actually really good for people, but I do not
The CBD,
use THC.
not the THC.
That's very important. Anything that is mind altering
Mm-hmm.
is very detrimental to the psychological health of the individual. I
Yeah.
do not support.
Yeah, they conned us with medicinal. Now it's
Correct. So
recreational.
I do not support at all the legalization of marijuana because this is how it started. I mean, I see this because I deal with drug addicts.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually clear a heavy duty stuff. I mean, heroin addicts,
Mm-hmm.
and people who basically alcoholics. I had someone, a Japanese guy, and I had a video testimonial. It's going to be on the website pretty soon. The guy, he has been drinking 1.5 liter of vodka every day for the last 10 years. I saw him in December in one session. Yeah, I mean,
How's his liver?
last December, I saw him, I gave him one session. Then I saw him in May. He doesn't touch alcohol at all.
Oh, wow.
It's all gone. I had a heroin addiction, I had a heroin addict, same thing. One session, sometimes 2 sessions. They don't touch it anymore. No. This is so serious because you have to stop and think. This is the next generation. These kids are going to be the next leaders, the
Yeah.
next CEOs.
That's scary. Very
Right.
scary.
And if
I don't think they're going to make
they
it.
need to be mentally sane. Otherwise, what kind of world
You
are we going to
think?
end up, you know?
There's so much polarization and division in this country. It used to be that you could tolerate a person's opinion. They say don't talk about religion or politics, but now people are hating others, kicking them out of restaurants. Okay, we better not get
I'm
started. Better not get started on that subject. We need to take a break.
Okay.
We'll talk about
No
this when we
problem.
get back. Okay, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome, caregivers. Thank you so much for finding your way to our community of loving and supportive caregivers. We as caregivers understand and know the day-to-day feelings of guilt, fear, and loneliness. But guess what? There is hope. I, Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver, along with my team of experts and caring caregivers, have made this site just for you. We are a community of caregivers that understands and supports you wherever you are in your journey. We are a place to connect with other caregivers, but more importantly, a place to get practical, actionable help. There are lots of ways for you to get support. First of all, you can download our welcome pack. This will get you started on your Thrive journey. Next, you can ask and get answers to your questions by posting them here in our private Facebook groups. You can also get live online support by attending one of our live weekly Connect webinars. You can get practical, actionable advice by listening to our weekly podcast. You can hear and read other stories about other caregivers' experiences. Plus, add your own in our weekly Share Your Story forum, posted every Tuesday in the Facebook group. You can access essential resources and download practical Thrive Solutions packs, all of which are geared to help you thrive as a caregiver. We know funds are tight, so we offer all of our individual Thrive Solutions packs at just $19 each. Or for even a better deal, you can get lifetime access to all of our resources for a one-time fee of $47.97. Again, we're here to support you and help you thrive and to enjoy your life as a caregiver. Before this video ends, download our free welcome pack below. And remember, this is a place to get hope, not just cope. And we're back with Antoine Chevalier on the day. Thank you. On the Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver radio show. And I think you are the only sane person in Washington that I know of. Everyone is going crazy. I mean, the senators and I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, liberal, or conservative. I just want people there to have a brain, to have common sense.
Well, I'm telling you that I'm telling you, the representative, I've been in Washington D.C. now for 18 years, and I worked there for 17 years.
You've seen it all.
What I can tell you, I honestly, I urge your audience to unite.
Yes.
To be honest, we can't afford to be divided. We just can't.
No.
I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. You're an American.
Yep.
I'm American. I'm very proud to be American. I'm born and raised in France.
We have that in common.
I cherish this country. I appreciate the Constitution.
I appreciate that. A lot of people don't understand. They should leave America and see
this country.
What the other side
No, look, I'm the living example of the American dream. The American dream is not dead. It's still alive. This is the only country I could have succeeded the way I succeeded. I have a tremendous amount of love and gratitude to the Constitution, the First Amendment, the Second, all the freedom that have been guaranteed by the Founding Fathers is exceptional. If you look at history, the American Revolution, started, then the French Revolution started after. It was such an inspiration. And it's the people by the people. And I would urge every single person in your audience to remind themselves that we are Americans first. We are Americans first. And America is a very special country. I've lived in 16 different countries. I've done international research. There is no other country than the U.S. All you have to do is get out of the U.S. and see.
That's right.
There's nowhere that level of freedom that you can have here in the U.S. And it breaks my heart to see the division and the polarization, and we American,
like two magnets.
We've never been that polarized like this in modern history. I mean, maybe way back,
the Civil War, right before the Civil War. That's how
right,
dangerous
exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say. Maybe way back in Abraham Lincoln, when you look at the history, and then there was a huge division, and since then we haven't been that polarized. And for the sake of each other and our children and the future for this country, I urge every single one of us to stay united. Stay united. Look, you can be
we don't want brother fighting brother anymore, We've already done that, and it wasn't pretty.
Look, I mean, we have to go back to just calm down and have just people to just everybody just
breathe.
Look at what's going on, and if you want, maybe you just travel outside of the U.S. and see what's going on, and then you kind of come back and just cherish this country. If you're not happy, we still have a democracy. I mean, you can actually go to the poll and vote. I mean, look, if you're not happy, just go somewhere and act. Like actually go to a charity or actually help people or follow your belief and act on it. It's no point of being violent to one another. There is no point of shouting. There's no point of yelling. There is no point of cursing. There's no point of doing any of that civil, ugliness. It's really better to be mature citizens and act on your belief, express your opinion in a civil manner. Yeah. So we can communicate to one another. And stay united. Stay united because the world is not getting better. And the U.S., I'm telling you, the U.S. is the leader for the free world.
Yes.
Okay, who's going to lead this world? Europe? I mean, look, it's impossible. Russia? Are you kidding? China? No way, right?
Yeah.
What? I mean, no offense, but look around. The U.S. needs to be healthy, strong, and united if the world wants to know peace. Since World War II, when the U.S. won, I mean, look, we haven't had any major world war because the U.S. is a force of good in this world, and we better stay united.
Yep. What actually happens to the brain when people start getting hate-filled? These adults that are just hating people just because they don't agree with them. I mean, debate should be a wonderful thing that makes us Americans, and instead, they're just going crazy.
It's a rush. There's a rush of chemicals, a chemical reaction.
Like a
and
drug.
The problem is some people can be addicted to this. So some people
addicted
can
to
fall
hate?
into a form of addiction which, for example, some people can be addicted to anger.
I guess you
Some
can get
people can
addicted
be
to
addicted
anything.
to grief.
Yeah.
Some people can be addicted to care for others.
That's the good part.
So it's important. I always, when I teach caregivers, when I teach people, who are in the business of healing or helping or caring, it's always 50%, 50%, right? So 50% for yourself, just like in one of your beautiful video when you see the person in the airplane.
Yeah.
If you don't
Put your
take care of
mask on
yourself,
first.
you're not going to be able to take care of others. I mean, if you end up sick, how are you going to take care of your mother, right?
Yep.
You just can't. So you have to take care of yourself first. And there is always a tendency to put others first and you second, because these caregivers are so good people and they're heart-centered. And
Sacrificial.
usually the tendency is to put 90%
Yeah.
focus on others and only 10% on yourself. And that's a mistake.
Recipe for disaster.
That's a real mistake. You need
Yep.
to do 50% on yourself first
Yeah.
and 50% on others. And that's a very difficult balance to achieve. I mean, I see that all the time. It's very,
Yes.
and personally, I do meditation. Meditation has been very helpful. It's non-religious. It's a meditation that is not based on religion. It's just a coping mechanism with stress.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach this, and it works. It's very effective and it's very efficient. But of course, it's more complicated. I mean, I wish meditation could solve all the issues, but the reality is it's not. And that's the reason why I do mental health modality like the one we just described in order to save the world and really make a change in this world.
Yeah. I can't believe how fast this hour has gone. Why don't you tell us how someone can get a hold of you if they want to ask you questions or they've got some
Sure.
people who want to-
The website. Sure, the website is permanenthealing.com. We do not make that claim. Our clients do.
Clever.
Because the concussion is just one session and it's done, and a lot of suicidal treatment is just 1 or 2 sessions and it's done. It doesn't come back. This is how profound it is. And so people need to know, my email is Dr. Antoine, my first name, Antoine, and Whitehouse at gmail.com. You can also text me, if we can try that, at 301-768-7374. I'm mobile. I can travel to you if you give me access to one athlete who suffers from visible tremors with concussion. I will fly, treat him for free in exchange for publishing his case and have a mini documentary around his recovery.
Wow.
Number one. Number two, if you give me 30 homeless military veterans that are homeless, I will fly to you and treat them for free in exchange for publishing their medical recovery and do a documentary. I can also fly to you if you give me 30 autistic children. And same deal, I would do it for free in exchange for publishing the medical recovery and do a documentary.
Now, wait a minute. What if the autistic child is in jail? Would that work?
Oh, I forgot about this. I have another research also that I'm doing. If you give me access to the jail system, I would love to go and treat the inmates, especially extreme case. I just recently did this, and now I want to do it on a more systemic basis, on a bigger scale with documentary. I know I have a friend who is working and helping me on this. I already have a documentary maker. So I'm just looking for, like serial killers or gang members or violent people who are already in jail, and I would go in jail and clear them. So one example, that I did not long ago was like, this guy was in jail and he was banging his head against the wall, like bang, 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 like that, like nonstop, right? So we put him on the massage table. I do the treatment. We put him back in the prison cell. Doesn't bang his head against the wall. Done.
Yeah, the prison system really needs some help.
So that I want this on a documentary.
Okay. So if somebody knows a prison guard or an administrator, a warden, they can get you in, right? That would be awesome because our prisons are full of, what is it,
Yeah,
80%?
any ministry, like we have beautiful people ministry for church, who work in the prison system.
Yeah.
I can work with them in partnership. I can partner with them.
That's good. 80%
Thank you.
recidivity rate. What's that word? So in other words, 80% of them go back to jail. So we need help. We need a prison system that actually rehabilitates. There are so many applications to what you're doing. You could change the world, one brain at a time.
Well,
How about a book? Have you written a book yet?
sure. The book is the title is Hidden Powers of Creation, and how your thoughts shape your reality. And it's available on Amazon, so you can actually buy it on Amazon. I also have products, CBD nano water. I can customize, imprint, and it's going to help you mentally and emotionally and physically to help you feel better. I also have another product, the biophotonic light technology. You can actually structure water at frequencies of plants in the water, and you can scan yourself under the tongue. I mean, I have it here. If you want, I can show you. It's really amazing. And I'm doing another product for wrinkles, which is already out there. You can buy it if you want to. It's a CBD.
CBD
Yeah,
oil.
oh yeah, I love it. I'm very passionate. So it's for the wrinkles. So I use CBD nano particle with NAD plus.
Wow.
Nano particle, which is the most powerful anti-aging element.
Sounds great. How old are you?
82.
Yeah, I'm 83. I got you beat. Well, you
Yeah.
look great. You look great. We both look
You
great.
look really good too.
Thank you. Thank you. So my information is go to caregiverdave.com. And if you're not a caregiver, then send a caregiver that you know and love, who you want to stay alive, to caregiverdave.com and watch our welcome video. We want to give you a couple of gifts. One is my book on overcoming unbelievable hardships. The other is a welcome pack. And we have a quiz. Are you a candidate for burnout? Join our team of caring and loving professionals, and you can make this thing. Don't make the same mistakes I made. You can learn from my mistakes, okay?
Thank you.
All right. God bless you all. Thank you for coming on today, Antoine. And we will see everybody
Thank
next
you.
week. Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
It was great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Caregivers Caregiver radio program with Dave Nassani.